Hi, you're all very welcome to the latest edition of the LGFA Talk Show here in LGFA HQ in Dublin in the shadow of Croke Park outside in the distance. My name is Cahill, Commercial and Communications Manager for LGFA, and I'm delighted to be joined today by my colleague Clare Dowdall. Hi Clare, with remit for player welfare and referee development, one of our national development officers. Hi Clare. And Sharon Courtney is down from Monaghan legend of some renown, and from a family of 10 we learned off air just before. I never knew that, Sharon. Sharon, thanks for coming down.
No problem.
That was a busy house for you growing up.
I suppose I'm third oldest, so followed the two girls and followed them into football probably, and then the rest after that followed as well, but it's busy.
Before we kick into today's show, and the emphasis is very much on nutrition, Sharon, just tell us about your actual background in nutrition, because you specialise in this subject.
Yeah, so I'm a qualified sports nutritionist. I studied originally in health and physical activity, so kind of a fitness background, fitness for health, and then branched into the sports nutrition. So kind of tie in with the nutrition. It was kind of in my undergrad probably touched on nutrition for health, but then I went and specialised in nutrition for sports, and now I'm teaching in TU Dublin Blanchardstown campus on the sports management and coaching course, and I teach mainly the sports nutrition modules as well as some coaching modules, and then work outside that with different teams and different individuals as a sports nutritionist as well. So this time of year is busy because everyone's pre-season. I'm mad to start on the right foot, so busy at this time of year.
Good, and we'll kind of move on to the specifics of it as the show goes on. Just to remind viewers and listeners, if you want to get your comments in, you can do so, comment under the post, or if you want some individual feedback, you can contact. Can they contact you direct, Clare? Clare.Dowdall, and it's CLARE.DOWDALL. Got that right? At lgfa.ie if you want some one-to-one individual feedback, and it can be passed on to Sharon as well if you've got any specific nutrition queries. Clare, your good self, busy time of the year as well for you, obviously, with the National League season underway.
Well, it's always busy in the world of LGFA, you know that yourself, but we're really excited to get the podcast up and going and to have Sharon in with us today, touching on such an important topic, especially at this time of the year. Yeah,
absolutely. Sharon, I suppose just back on the nutrition piece, you mentioned obviously that you've got the workout in TU, but you also deal, I'm sure, with teams and individual clients. What's the kind of split between that? Is there more devoted towards the lecturing side of things, or is there more devoted towards the business side of it?
Look, the 9 to 5 or the full-time job is the lecturing, and I've never really advertised myself as a sports nutritionist, just kind of got known, and then
there you go.
I don't want the phone to ring, and the phone just rings, and I don't like to turn anybody down. So look, people ask you to do bits and pieces. I'm involved with one team, and outside of that I don't take on any other team. So it might be a case that if somebody wants me to come in and work with a team, I'll come in, I'll sit with the group, I'll do a workshop with them as a once off, but it's not, I wouldn't work with them then consistently because I have my team, and if you take on too much then you're helping nobody. So the day-to-day is the lecturing, and then outside of that is first the team and that I work with, and then any individual clients, then after that I fit them in where I can, but whatever they need I'll try and accommodate them where.
Okay, you've kind of touched on my next question there, Sharon. I was going to ask you, so you come into a team at the start of the season, do you evaluate them all and then set them individual diet plans? And if you do so, is the onus on them then to make sure that they adhere to them? Or is there a case where they can call on you maybe a couple of months down the line to come in and have a look at how things are going?
Yeah, I would find that it differs depending on the group you're involved with. I've done both club setups and inter-county setups, and I find with the club player maybe they're less inclined, they need more follow-up and chasing of them. And probably this is why I stepped away from that. I don't have the time for that.
Because some of the inter-county teams might have full-time person looking after that side.
Not even that. It's to have that mentality whereby they want to do it. They look after it themselves. So you might give them that information, and you know they'll take it all on board. And there's very little chasing up on them because they want to. They're at that level where it's the small margins, or they're looking to get to the next step, and they're training maybe 5 times a week. So they don't want to waste that 5 times, so they're making sure that their nutrition's on point. So it takes very little chasing. But to go back to your point, do I give meal plans? I don't really. A lot of it is education. So, for example, if I am working with a team, I'll take them in as a group and give that education point, but would work individually then. So if Clare's on that team, I'll have Clare in 10-15 minutes, review her food diary. How is she going? Is she eating enough? What is she eating? And then if she wants to track it, which, you know, some people I would get them to track, then she can track it herself. I'll give her what to aim for and we can check in on it. But I wouldn't give a meal plan because it's not sustainable for me to give Clare a meal plan and then she forgets to bring her lunch to work. What does she do now? Or she goes into the shop and, oh, Sharon said to eat this and, oh God, it's not in the shop. What do we do next? So it's about education and giving them the tools then to make the right choices. And as I said, then each individual's different, but the higher level player I would find are more inclined to make the right choice more often versus somebody who the manager told me to come into you and really I don't care. I'm just here to please the manager, and they step outside the door and they haven't paid one bit of heed to what you've just said, you know.
Okay. Just pass over to Clare for a sec if you don't mind. Sharon, Clare, when it comes to player welfare and referee development, your two specialist topics, is there much talk around nutrition? How important is it? Obviously, it's vitally important for players and in terms of performance and recovery. Referees as well, are they aware of and conscious of what they're putting into their bodies because they're performing too at a high level?
Yeah, well, I would work hands-on with our national referees, and it's something both with regard to their fitness and their food that we've tried to touch base on, especially over the last 18 months to 2 years, to make them aware of what food they should be doing to have that energy to go up and down the pitch. The game's got so fast in terms of players, and the referees know that they have to fuel their body in the same way to get up to that standard. And I think the big thing is, and I'll ask Sharon her opinion on this later, is what do we give them in recovery? You know, we talk about what we're feeding to fuel the body going forward, but we need to make sure that we have some simple tips to fuel the body after it, because they're putting in high energy. Most of our referees are clocking 13, 14, 15 kilometres a game, which would probably be above average of players. So it's as important to them as it is to the players on the pitch. And I think sometimes we're very good at eating before a game and maybe not as good as what can we eat afterwards to start the recovery system back up and going again.
What did Austin O'Connell have before last Sunday? There was a great clip of him on Twitter. I don't know if you saw it. Jerome was at the game. We did Kildare and Wicklow live stream, and I think it was Kildare were warming up, and this figure just comes flashing across the pitch like bombing it. It was Austin O'Connell, the ref. He was flying.
Yeah, that's all my super training plans. I'll take credit for that.
He's definitely benefiting from it. We just have some points to touch on, Sharon, throughout the course of the conversation. The difference between county and club in terms of nutrition. I look to the uneducated from the outside looking in. It might seem that, you know, club players are very, very serious. I mean, you've experienced both. Are many club players are just as serious as county players about what they put into their body?
Oh, they are, yeah. It's like anything, you're going to have a spread of different players or different mentalities across any group. But I think the biggest difference between the club and county player is the fact that the county player is just training probably that little bit more often. And as a result, the fueling needs to be on point across a full week, for example. So in terms of the basics nutrition for club and county, it's the same. It's the basics of healthy eating. The only difference then is if the county player is training an extra 2 times a week, well then they need to fuel that extra 2 days a week, whereas the club player can get away with just having the basics of healthy eating on those days. Like, that's the biggest difference, is just fueling because of the extra training. And another thing then potentially is with the extra training that you also means that your recovery time is shorter. So for example, you might have a county player who's in the gym on a Monday evening and then they're out on the pitch on a Tuesday evening, so they need to make sure they're recovered from Monday night before Tuesday starts, whereas you might have a club player who's in the gym on a Monday and they're not training again till Wednesday or Thursday, so their recovery time is longer. So the big thing is that the county player make sure it's their fueling and it's carbs. Carbs give us our energy. So on a training day, particularly a pitch session, they'll need to up their carbs just to match the output then that's to follow. And particularly then with the short recovery time, protein's needed. So a high protein not even a high protein diet, because protein goes a long way, so moderate amount of protein across the day, just to help that recovery, to prep you again for the next session. So that's the biggest difference, is just the extra training requires extra focus in on the nutrition.
Sharon, are people nutritious about what they eat? Superstitious about what they eat. And I ask you this question because I'm just going a little bit off topic. The last time I ran a marathon, I had a massive pizza the night before, and I ran well the next day. And so if I'm going to do another one, and hopefully I will, I'll do the very same again. Do people get into a kind of superstitious mode about what they're eating, or does it vary?
Look, I think everybody's different. You have to find what works for you. Like, you get away with the pizza if I can guarantee on the lead into the marathon everything else was good, and then well
not bad.
Do you know, like the pizza, at the end of the day, the pizza is carbs, and that's what you need. So if you're going to run a marathon, you need carbohydrates, so you got that out of it. Now obviously there's a better choice of carbs. Would I be recommending a pizza? No. Okay. But is it the worst thing you could eat? No. So it's about finding what works best for you. The basics are base your meals around carbohydrates, especially on training days in the lead into a marathon, in the lead into a match. You're basing your meals around carbs. But again, finding what works for you. Somebody might take a bowl of porridge. A bowl of porridge mightn't agree with somebody else. That's fine. Toast will do the job for you, or a sandwich will do the job, because it's carbohydrates. So it's whatever suits you.
Yeah, I've just loads of questions going through my head as we go through it. Claire, you have a question in terms of being a coach of under 14s and under 16s for Sharon.
Yeah, I suppose I'm going to take it straight back down to the club level. So I currently coach 14/16, and that's something that I don't even think about as a coach. I'm busy thinking of what drill, when's my next game, who has the kit, is it washed, where's our water bottles, and it's something I just thought when this all came up in topic, we never really talked to them regarding nutrition. As a treat, we go and buy them pizzas after a match, and then at halftime, if we have enough time, we would have the typical orange and maybe some Jaffa cakes, and that would only be on a championship day to get them as a treat. So I'm just wondering, is there something simple that we could put in place for that age group to encourage them without bombarding them because of body image and stuff? With girls, you're very worried about telling them to eat this and eat that, but if there was even 2 or 3 things that I could introduce as a coach at club level to influence the girls going forward, what do you think the best 2 or 3 things is that I could do?
Thanks, Claire.
Good question.
What I'd say is keep it simple. I think as the coach, you're looking after the welfare of those players, but you're not an expert in maybe certain areas. But I just say keep it simple. So even after exercise or after training, encouraging them to go home and eat. First off, I'd find a lot of players, and particularly girls, think I'm after training, I can't eat because I'm after burning calories or whatever, or body image, as you said, is an issue. But the key thing is to eat after exercise, because you're going to get the best out of that session. You're going to recover better, get faster, stronger, whatever, if you put the fuel back in, if you put the right nutrition back in. And I put a focus on the performance. So take it away from body image or anything else. Put the focus on performance to say, look, girls, right, make sure you get something into you now this evening. You'll be better prepared for our next training session or the next match. Other things like we have the water bottles here in front of us. Jackie just has his wee cup. But encouraging them even to carry a water bottle, or provide the opportunity in your training sessions to have a water break, that you can get the sipping of water on board, and just even a simple message there and then, really good to keep hydrated, girls. Do you know, something simple like that. And again, you don't want to step out of your comfort zone as a coach either. So it might be a case of handing out a leaflet or sending a leaflet home, and particularly to the parents, because when you're working with the children, it's the parents that do all the shopping and the cooking and stuff. So even if you did get a leaflet and it could be sent home, it's all about the education too. But I think it's key for that age group, did you just bed in habits? And like, as you say, going for the pizza or whatever after the matches, like, yes, fine after winning and as a once off, but I wouldn't allow it to be a regular thing. And even like half time, like, you're talking about, you mentioned the Jaffa cakes or whatever at halftime. I'd nearly swap those out, because you're just providing the Jaffa cakes, and what it is it's giving you energy. But fruit will do the same, so why not swap in fruit instead? And it just then it's the girls see, okay, fruit is an energy source, and it's a better choice than the Jaffa cakes. Plus, who eats the Jaffa cakes? Only the subs that are sitting on the bench because they take it all out. I know from past experience.
There's orange filling in Jaffa cake.
So like it's generally the ones that don't need it, they eat the stuff like at halftime. It's the ones the subs take it out at halftime. If you've seen our club players, like, they come in, they get the first aid kit, fill it up with Jaffa cakes, and away they go and stuff their faces. But so even simple things that they see the fruit. And then that's a trigger to them. Okay, well, fruit must be good for me. Fruit gives me energy. Grand, I'll use that myself the next time, you know. So simple things like that.
So on Valentine's Day there we were training, and I thought I was being a nice coach, and I gave them all a bar of chocolate and home. So what could I have swapped them out for? Were you just recommending a piece of fruit, or is there anything else like bar wise or anything like that really simple that we could give them to think like it's a wee bit of a treat but a healthier option?
Look, on Valentine's Day, if you want to give them a bar of chocolate, give them a bar of chocolate. I'm not the devil here. It's once off, or small things like that. Treats are fine, or you're trying to be a good coach and build that camaraderie within your club or with your team. A bar of chocolate is fine. Would I be giving them a bar of chocolate every week? Definitely not.
Okay. Sharon, in terms of what you've encountered down through the years, I mean, food intolerance and allergies and all this, these various points, how conscious do you need to be of that? I mean, coaches, managers, that, God forbid, they don't give something to a player that's going to really upset them or make them sick.
Yeah, well, from my point of view anyway, it's one of the questions I'd always ask if I'm working with a team.
Checkbox, or
yeah, it is. Okay. So it's a question that I would ask if I was working with anybody and within a group environment. That obviously, if somebody's allergic to something, you don't want to put them in that situation whereby there could be a reaction. But as you say, food intolerance and stuff like that, or veganism now is big. Like. People kind of jump on these things, and at different time periods you'll find, now I don't have any vegans at the minute, but at different time points you will find, okay, so there's a group of celiacs for some reason, there's a group, or not even celiacs, but somebody who decides to stay off gluten. You'll have a group of vegans at any one time. You kind of find that there's different trends, but you do have to be aware of it and accommodate them where possible. I suppose from a coach's point of view, maybe Clare will probably touch on it from a different angle. She needs to know from a different perspective maybe, and if it's the case that somebody has an allergy to nuts, or children have an allergy to nuts, well then that needs to be made aware across everybody, especially if you're going on a away day that somebody doesn't have a peanut butter sandwich or something like that, you know. So Clare probably has a different aspect, yeah.
Okay. Sharon, just while we're in the middle of the show, if people want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do it? Obviously, preferably email. We're not going to give out your phone number.
You're giving me more work.
Well, hopefully.
Yeah, look, I'm happy if anybody wants any information. I'm happy to give any information. But it's generally email. I am on social media, but it's very rarely used. So I do have an email address, but the probably best thing is to contact yourselves, and then you can come back and it'll come back to me then.
Good stuff, because at various times of the year you might be too busy to take on new people. I've listed a little point there, and it's not a little one. It's actually has massive potential implications. Anti-doping guidelines, Sharon, and around the nutrition piece as well. Like, is there something that somebody could potentially eat? Now, this might sound like a silly question, that could actually violate one of those guidelines.
Potentially. We've gone down the route, and there's a little bit unknown about some of the foods. So when you mention food or something that you could eat, like if you take your protein bars and things like that, now at the minute, protein bars don't have to be tested, but there's a fine line there that potentially somebody could be done for eating a protein bar. It could contain, where are we getting that source of protein and so forth. But at the minute, they're fine. But what I would say is overall, you need to just apply a food first approach. Like supplements are really the sprinkle on the top of the cake. You need to get the basics right first. And I always kind of, when I'm talking to anybody or working with anybody, a healthy, balanced diet is here. Sports nutrition is here, so that means you eat more on training days. You might tailor what you're doing if you're in a gym, if you're injured, pre and post training nutrition, and then on top of that is our supplements if we need. But definitely a food first approach is what's recommended. In terms of taking supplements, you need to be very, very careful because you don't know where that supplement is made. First off, there is a whole batch of supplements that aren't batch tested, and if they're not batch tested, it's advisable for a player to stay away because it can contain a banned substance. One, it might be on the label and you're unaware of it, or two, it mightn't even be on the label and it could have picked up a trace substance in the process. And so it's advisable to operate a food first approach, and if you're going to take a supplement, you just seek guidance on it, because if you're found with a contaminated substance, you're at risk then for a ban, and it's a 4-year ban minimum, so you do need to be careful.
Well, Sharon, we could nearly do a full show on supplements because there are probably psychological issues that could accrue from using supplements in terms of, we hear about fat burners and all sorts of different things. But Claire, from a player welfare point of view and referees, are they aware of these kind of basic concepts and premises to just be very careful if you're using supplements to make sure you're using the right ones?
I think last year myself and Sharon were both involved in getting trained up regarding all the anti-doping stuff, and we went out and delivered anti-doping workshops to all our county teams at county level, and the biggest she can correct me if I'm wrong, but for me anyway, I delivered 5 or 6 of them, and it was a lot of questions on supplements. Girls going to PTs in the gym and them advising them this, and all we were saying was, you go on to inform sport, make sure you have your batch numbers, make sure you're tracking what you're taking. Some people just lack a bit of education and believe whatever a PT tells them or whatever somebody tells them. So it's important, if they are taking something, that it's a qualified nutritionist like Sharon that knows their stuff, or people in her field, that you're taking the advice of the right people. So I think, as from the association point of view, we are trying to educate people on eating correctly, and I think the biggest point in that is to go with your food first. A lot of our players don't need supplements if they have the correct, and that's the education piece we were trying to put in. You know, I've seen examples of working with minor county teams before as a coach, and people coming in and saying, oh, we're working in a gym, we need more protein, and these are 16, 17-year-old girls, and they don't need protein, they don't need protein shakes, they don't need protein powder, they need more of a protein balanced diet. So I'd be very much pushing the same line as Sharon, or that we go food first and everything, but again, it's seeking those people with the right qualifications and getting the information from them instead of Googling it. I think that's a big one.
Just on your point, Claire, supplements are not recommended for any under 18, so no under 18 should be taking supplements. The only time I might recommend a supplement is that if somebody is training really hard, doing a lot of training, and they just can't get the nutrition in, there's no time in the day to get that food in, then you might recommend it, or for convenience. So for example, if you're in doing a session and you're jumping in the car and you're going to be in the car for an hour before you're going to get fed, for that convenience reason, maybe you could take a supplement. But ultimately, and protein's probably the big one that's out there, we can get enough protein in the diet if we're well planned. And it is just about planning and being prepared. And if we're not, then we might be low in protein or need extra protein, and then, okay, can I fix the planning first? No, right, well, then a supplement might do the job for me. But definitely it shouldn't be the first port of call.
Okay. There's so many spin-off shows coming up in my head here. I mean, you could do a whole section on what you should have, you know, breakfast, lunch, dinner, right? But I'm going to look for Sharon Courtney's shopping trolley tips. So just, you know, from a very basic point of view, I mean, you could come away from your local store, Lidl preferably, with an absolutely packed trolley. But what are the good things to put in it, and what are they useful for?
It's funny actually. When I do my own shop, I go down the in on Lidl, and down the one aisle, back up the other, and that would be it. I used to go to any of the other aisles, apart from my deals on a Thursday. But all the fresh fruit, all the fresh produce is all on the one side of the Lidl store. So that's what you're basing it on. It's the fresh produce. If you take the food pyramid, and the food pyramid is the basics, and it's the starting point for everybody, whether you're a player or not, parent, child, it's the starting point. And at the bottom of the food pyramid is the fruit and veg and salads. And then the next stop on the food pyramid is the whole grain cereals, the breads, pastas, rice. And that's, look, if you think of it, that's all fresh stuff. And that's stuff that you might have to go in on a Monday or a Sunday evening and buy it. And then you might need to tip back on a Wednesday or Thursday evening to buy it again. But it's not the stuff that you're loading up and heading for the freezer, and it's all into the freezer and all processed stuff. So it's the fresh stuff that you're looking to buy.
Okay, you stay away then from the stuff near the counter where nice.
In terms of the shopping too, like everybody, like I like a sweet treat no more than the next person, but
everything has its place. Sharon. You've kind of outlined that, everything in its place.
But I don't buy it, if you know what I mean. I don't have it in the house because if it's there, I'll eat it, so I don't buy it. And I've actually, now when I was younger, I couldn't go into a shop without buying a bar of chocolate. Now I could go weeks without eating a bar of chocolate because you just get out of the habit of having it. And if you don't pick it up, and particularly for parents then who have children, and children are nagging for this, that and the other, if it's not in the house, they're less likely to nag for it. So it could be a case of buying the extra fruit and veg, having it more visible in the house, and then children are more likely to eat that rather than looking for the sweet treats. But it's just about shifting our habits a wee bit, going back to the basics of what we grew up on, and it was all the fresh produce, you know. And then if that's what we're aiming for, well, that needs to be in the shopping trolley, because it's not in the shopping trolley, it's not going to be on the plate at home.
Okay. I'm going to throw this question over to two of you guys. What can clubs do better to promote to promote good nutrition, in turn leading to that healthy lifestyle piece that everybody seems to be talking about these days, and which is vitally important? Is it like posters of the food pyramid? Is it workshops, education? Is that essentially the key items?
I think education is key. Now, I'm not saying education is the role of the club, it's in the club's remit, but it's definitely no harm for a club to touch on it, because if you have a healthier player, then obviously they're going to be a better performance on the pitch. And so education is key. So whether it is a case, and you can get loads of free leaflets on safefood.eu or healthpromotion.ie, they'll send you out free leaflets. So it could be a case of just sending them home. It might be a case of getting someone like myself in to do an education workshop with a group. But I think people probably have a wee bit of awareness around it, like. So implement it a wee bit. If you take a club shop at a match, I hate half time at matches, and then all the kids are running around and there's sweets and fizzy drinks hanging out of them. So even that, if you within your club shop were to shift that a wee bit to move away from the confectionery items, that in itself would make a big difference.
Claire,
I suppose I was a GPO in Dublin for a long time. We used to do the nurseries on a Saturday morning, and one thing we implemented which worked really well was we used to have an hour and a half nursery, and we brought it in halfway through. We give the 5 and the 6 year olds a break, and we actually encouraged them all to bring a piece of fruit and water, and we had joke time. So halfway through I would sit down in a circle with the children. They would all eat something that they had brought with them, and we asked for healthy food. And to me, that's what you do in a club. You create a different culture. And we told a wee joke, and you wouldn't even know. And we spent 10 minutes having a joke time, having a piece of fruit, and that was the energy to go on, because they were doing football in the morning and hurling in the afternoon, and it just gave them the energy to go out through the day. And it was something my own club started bringing in with their under 6 and 8s. When we had a long session indoors, I had mentioned to one of the coaches, and he started going the little in the morning before training and bringing a bag of fruit and stopping with the kids and encouraging that. So I think as a club we do have a responsibility to change our culture. As Sharon said, match days, tuck shops, we all know what to like, tea, coffees and a bar of chocolate. So I think it's just really small habits that we all have to change.
Okay. I hope they brought a good bit of stuff, because I've heard some of your jokes, Claire, but anyway. A lovely place to finish then, Sharon and Claire. I mean, top 3 tips to change habits. Sharon, I mean, you talked about a time where you couldn't walk into a shop without buying a bar of chocolate. Now you can go weeks on end without having a bar of chocolate. How did you manage to break that cycle? Was that just greater awareness or greater education or greater knowledge yourself?
I'd like to know that, because I know Sharon quite well. And
Is she telling porkies, Claire?
We'd say we shared a house on an occasion for a few times, and I never seen someone eat as much. So I'd like to know, is she still eating as regularly and the small amounts? It was all healthy stuff, but I never seen every 2 hours she was starving, absolutely starving. So I'd like to hear the response to this.
Thanks, Claire. That's
Over
a good
to you,
point.
Sharon.
Actually, just on that point, a lot of players don't eat enough, to be quite honest, and that's one thing Claire and a lot of people would comment on the amount I would eat. It is all good stuff. Now, I'm not, the odd times is the bad thing, but I would have ate very regular, and something now that I'm not playing county football, I noticed myself that my focus at that time was all on performance. So if you ask why can I go without a bar of chocolate or whatever, because I knew, right, I'm training tonight, am I eating a bar of chocolate, or am I eating something that's going to stand me in good stead for training? And then when you were playing county football, well, I was training 5, if not 6 times a week. So you couldn't afford the bar of chocolate because you were skipping out on something else. And it wasn't that I didn't want the bar, or there was a problem with the bar of chocolate. It was the fact if I didn't get the bar of chocolate, I wasn't getting the right food then, because it was in its place. And that's something I'd noticed now when I'm not playing county football, that with club football, let's say we're only training twice a week now, that on the 2 training days, yeah, I'm great, but some of the days then in between, I slip back a wee bit, and it's not even that I'm eating wrong foods. I'm not eating enough of the foods then prepping, because I'm just out of that psyche a wee bit, but I'm going to get back into it, if you know what I mean. I've set myself that it's just like, because I know myself, even playing club football last year, I wasn't in the best shape I could have been, and I have that focus now for this year to get back. So for me, how did I break the cycle? It was all about performance. And for any individual, even no matter what age group you're at, you're training twice a week, 3 times a week, and we all want to win. So think about it, right, well, I want to do really well at training tonight, I want to do really well the next night at training, I want to do so you just eat well, focusing on the training. That would be my thing, that would be my top tip, is just, right, get the best out of every session. How do I do it? And it's just by fueling properly.
And what would be that snack you would have instead of the chocolate?
Do you know, now my snacks are all Greek yogurts, fruit are my snacks, and then I do have, like, in my car, because I'm on the road all the time, I generally have a bunch of bananas and a packet of apples in the front of the car, and then I have cereal bars as well, so high fibre cereal bars, you can get them in Lidl as well, the breakfast bars that are high in fibre, so I would have them. So like any of those bars, try and go for the ones that are high in fibre, because they're a little bit better for you. So
are they clearly marked? Most of the stuff is now clearly marked.
Yes, yeah,
and you know what you're getting.
Yeah, and it's no harm sometimes going in and just, there's 3 or 4 portions or different varieties, turning the box around and just having a look at them, which is the highest in fibre. It's generally, if it's higher in fibre, it's lower in sugar, and the fibre in itself is good for you. So no harm in just having a wee bit of awareness around the food labels. Okay,
no, brilliant stuff. I feel like we're only kind of skimming the surface here, that there's a much deeper kind of dive into this stuff that we could be doing. But the clock is against us. Folks. So Clare Dowdall, my colleague, National Development Officer with remit for player welfare and referee development, thank you. And Sharon, continued success at club level with Dunamine, and we're sure we'll see plenty of you guys throughout the year. Hopefully, if you can get to the top, first of all in Monaghan, and back to that Ulster Championship as well, and perhaps beyond. So wish you well.
Thank you.
And hopefully you'll be back into us again soon.
Great.
So if you want us to put you in touch with Sharon, just get in touch with us in the LGFA office. You can email Claire. Yep. So I'm going to put it all on you, Claire, which is nice and handy. But all jokes aside, it's Clare, CLARE.Dowdall, DOWDALL at LGFA.ie. So that's been the LGFA Talk Show. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. We need your feedback, and we'll talk to you again soon. Thank you.